You don't discover how strong you are when things go your way. You find it when everything falls apart, when the door slams in your face, when the plan fails, when the people you trusted walk away. It's in those silent, unbearable moments that your character is revealed. Not by what you feel, but by what you choose to do with that pain. Most people run from adversity. They curse it, resist it, beg for it to pass. But the Stoic sees it differently. To him, hardship isn't the enemy. It's the mirror, the forge, the fire that melts the shallow and molds the unshakable. You don't grow by avoiding the struggle. You grow by walking straight into it with your eyes open and your values intact. This episode is not for comfort. It's for courage. It's for anyone going through something hard and wondering if they'll make it out the same. The answer is, you won't. You'll make it out stronger. But only if you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what can this make of me? Let's talk about how adversity can become your greatest ally if you choose to face it like a Stoic. 1. Obstacles forge greatness. No one becomes exceptional by avoiding difficulty. The people we admire most, not for their fame, but for their depth, for their character, are not those who had easy lives. They're the ones who faced real, ruthless adversity and didn't collapse under it. They were forged by it, shaped, refined, and hardened in the fire of their own trials. That's what the Stoics understood better than anyone. It's not comfort that builds greatness, it's confrontation. Not the absence of struggle, but the way we move through it. An obstacle is not there to stop you. It's there to strengthen you. It's a teacher dressed as resistance, and most people, when they meet it, turn away. They freeze, they complain, they wait for life to get easier. But greatness doesn't wait. Greatness leans in. It sees the obstacle and thinks, this is where I begin. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." These aren't just poetic words, they're instructions. Every block you face in life, every rejection, failure, loss, mistake, is a hidden invitation to develop a part of yourself you didn't even know you had. Patience, discipline, courage, clarity. These are not gifts you're born with. They're earned by facing what hurts without losing your soul in the process. Think about it this way. A sword is only a piece of metal until it's put through heat and hammered into shape. And if you remove that pressure, that discomfort, that friction, it never becomes a weapon. It stays soft. The same is true for us. Adversity is not there to break you. It's there to reveal you, to strip away what's weak, to challenge what's fake, and to show you, if you're willing, how deep your strength really goes. But this doesn't happen automatically. Adversity alone doesn't make you great. It only gives you the opportunity. You still have to rise to meet it. You still have to choose how you respond. And that choice is where transformation lives. Do you give up because it's hard? Or do you adapt and grow because it's hard? That moment of decision, when you're in pain and yet you still move forward, that is what forges greatness. And no, it won't be fast, and it definitely won't be comfortable, but comfort isn't the point. Growth is, character is, becoming someone you can be proud of is. And no matter how unfair or impossible your current struggle may feel, the Stoic asks only this: what can I build from this? Because once you stop resisting the obstacle and start working with it, it becomes a tool, a path, a source of momentum. So the next time you feel blocked, stuck, or tested, remember, this isn't the end. This is the forge. You are not being punished. You are being shaped. And what comes out on the other side of that process, if you commit to it, is someone more focused, more grounded, and more powerful than you were before. Obstacles don't make you weak. Running from them does. Facing them with integrity, with patience, and with purpose. That's how you become great. 2. Hardship reveals your power. You don't know how strong you are until you're forced to find out. Until the ground beneath your feet disappears and you have nothing left to stand on but your principles. It's in those quiet, painful moments, when everything feels uncertain, when you're tired, alone, and no one's coming to save you, that your true power shows itself. Not the kind that shows off, but the kind that shows up. The kind that doesn't crumble. The kind that endures. Stoicism teaches us that difficulty is not just a test of strength, it's how strength is revealed. It strips away the illusion of control, the ego's distractions, the masks we wear. It brings you face to face with your raw self. No applause, no comfort, no shortcuts. Just you, and your will to keep going. And that's where the real discovery happens. Because when you find out you can survive something you thought would destroy you, a new kind of confidence is born. The quiet kind. The unshakable kind. Most people measure strength by what someone can lift or how loud they can speak. But the Stoic knows better. True power is invisible. It's the ability to suffer without self-pity, to keep your values intact when life tries to rip them from your hands. It's choosing dignity when chaos would be easier. It's waking up in pain and still doing what must be done. Not because you feel like it, but because it's who you've decided to be. And sometimes that power looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like restraint, like not fighting back when you could, like walking away without needing the last word, like letting go instead of clinging to what's already gone. That kind of strength doesn't scream, it doesn't seek attention, but it changes everything because it comes from a place so deep that nothing external can shake it. Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." And this isn't metaphorical. The more hardship you endure consciously, the more resilient your nervous system becomes, the more stable your mind becomes. You train your soul the way a blacksmith tempers steel, not by avoiding fire, but by enduring it again and again with purpose. And no, you won't always feel strong. That's part of it. Some days you'll feel like breaking, and that's okay. Strength doesn't mean you never bend. It means you don't shatter. You breathe through the pain. You hold the line. You move, even if only an inch. That's how you build the kind of strength the world can't take from you, because it's rooted not in outcomes, but in your response to what life throws at you. Hardship, then, is not a curse. It's a mirror. It shows you what you're made of. It reveals whether your values are real or just convenient. It forces you to stop talking about who you want to be and actually become that person. Not someday, not when it's easier, but now, in the struggle, in the mud, in the fire. So if you're hurting right now, if you're carrying something heavy, if you're walking through something that feels unbearable, remember this: your strength is not gone. It's being summoned. Not all at once, not dramatically, but gradually, with each decision you make to keep your standards, to keep your heart open, to keep walking. Hardship doesn't reveal weakness, it reveals potential, and that potential is yours to claim if you have the courage to face the pain instead of running from it. 3. Endure without complaint. There's a quiet power in those who suffer without needing the world to witness it, who carry their burdens with dignity instead of drama, who don't make pain their identity. They don't post it, parade it, or demand applause for surviving it. They simply endure. And in that silence, they grow stronger. Not because the world sees them, but because they see themselves with clarity. The Stoics didn't teach us to hide our pain. They taught us to hold it with intention, to face it, not inflate it, and above all, to never let it become an excuse. Complaining doesn't lessen pain, it multiplies it. Because every time you speak of suffering without purpose, you reinforce it. You give it more weight, more energy, more power over your mind. The Stoic knows, the more you talk about how hard it is, the harder it feels. But the more you bear it with composure, the more resilient you become. This doesn't mean you deny your emotions. It means you discipline them. You don't drown in your sorrow, you understand it. You don't perform your hardship, you process it. There's a difference between expressing pain honestly and using it as a permanent story. The former is human, the latter is imprisonment. Modern life rewards outrage. It rewards noise. We live in a culture that sees pain as a platform, a way to get attention, sympathy, or validation. But the Stoic asks, what if your greatest growth comes not from telling the world how hard it is, but from showing yourself how capable you are? Think about the people who truly inspire you, not because of what they said, but because of what they endured and how they carried themselves through it. That kind of strength doesn't come from venting. It comes from facing the weight and choosing not to collapse, choosing to walk forward anyway, not loudly, but steadily, without needing anyone to understand. And this isn't about pride, it's about peace. When you stop needing everyone to validate your pain, you begin to master it. You take ownership. You stop outsourcing your healing. And that's where transformation begins. You're no longer at the mercy of how others perceive your struggle, because your strength is no longer a performance. It's a practice. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality, but we also suffer more in repetition, in telling the same painful story until it becomes our only identity." The Stoic path is different. It says yes, feel it, acknowledge it, but don't become it. You are not your suffering. You are what you choose to do with it. And if you must speak of your pain, let it be to help someone else, not to collect pity. Let your scars be quiet reminders of the battles you've endured, not banners you wave for attention. Because the deepest strength is the one that doesn't need to be announced. It's the one you carry when no one is watching, the one that grows in silence, in solitude, in stillness. So when the weight is heavy and the path is long and no one sees what you're going through, endure. Not because you're indifferent, but because you're intentional. Not because you're numb, but because you're disciplined. And in that discipline, you'll find a new kind of peace, one the world can't give you, and therefore can never take away. 4. Use suffering as fuel. Pain, when used properly, is not a punishment, it's power. It's raw, untamed energy that can either burn you down or build you up, depending on how you channel it. And the Stoic understands this. He knows that while he may not have chosen the suffering, he does get to choose what it becomes. That choice is everything. When you suffer, you're handed a kind of inner fire, but most people let that fire consume them. They become bitter, cynical, exhausted. They feed the flame with blame and self-pity until it burns through their motivation and their identity. But the Stoic says, if I must suffer, I will not waste it. I will turn this fire into fuel. I will burn off weakness, not hope. I will build strength, not excuses. I will rise, not because the pain stops, but because I decide to rise through it. You can let suffering close you or open you. You can let it make you guarded, angry, and resentful, or you can let it refine you, sharpen you, pull out a deeper level of strength you never would have accessed in comfort. Pain shows you where the cracks are. It exposes what you need to work on, and if you meet it head-on, with purpose, you can use it to become wiser, calmer, and more grounded than you were before. The key is not to run from pain, but to ask it questions. What is this teaching me? What truth is this revealing that I've been avoiding? What part of me needs to evolve so I don't keep repeating this same cycle? That's the difference between suffering that weakens and suffering that transforms. One drains you, the other drives you. Epictetus was once asked how he handled being struck by his master while still a slave. He replied calmly, "If you continue, you will break my leg." And when the man did, Epictetus only said, "I told you so." That wasn't detachment, it was discipline. The pain didn't control him, he had already converted it. That's what Stoic power looks like. Not absence of feeling, but full control over where those feelings go. We all suffer. That's non-negotiable. But not all of us use that suffering. Some people drown in it, waiting for relief. Others turn it into fuel and become unstoppable. So ask yourself, what pain in your life are you wasting? What energy are you letting sit there, heavy and unprocessed, instead of using it to evolve? What part of your struggle can be turned into a reason, not just a reaction? Because when you start using your suffering, not resenting it, not escaping it, but using it, you stop being a victim of life. You become a student of it, and eventually a master of it. And that's the Stoic way. Not to pretend pain doesn't exist, but to choose what it becomes in your hands. 5. Struggle creates substance. There's something about a person who's been through things, not just lightly bruised, but truly broken and rebuilt. You can feel it in how they move, how they speak, how they hold themselves. There's weight in their words, depth in their silence. Their presence feels real because their experience is real. That kind of substance isn't taught in books. It's carved through struggle. We often admire resilience from a distance, but forget what forges it up close. It's forged in moments you never asked for, moments where quitting looks easier, where certainty disappears, where everything soft in you is peeled back, and the only thing left standing is your will. That's where character takes root, not in theory, but in trial. Comfort might keep you safe, but it never gives you roots. It never asks you to grow, because it doesn't need you to. But struggle, that's different. It demands more. It demands clarity. It demands strength. And in doing so, it builds something in you that ease never could. That's why the Stoic doesn't just accept hardship. He respects it, because he knows it's shaping him into something harder to break and easier to trust. There's a reason why the strongest people are rarely the loudest. It's because their strength didn't come from pretending, it came from enduring. It came from years of holding their tongue when they could have lashed out. From choosing peace when war was available. From walking forward when everything in them said to stop. That kind of strength doesn't need to be explained. It's felt. When you struggle, you don't just learn about pain, you learn about patience. You learn that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every opinion needs your energy. You stop reacting to everything. You start conserving your strength. And most of all, you become comfortable in your own skin. Not because life got easier, but because you got more grounded in who you are. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He didn't mean that lightly. He meant, don't wait for the road to clear. Walk the road as it is, and you will be the one who becomes clear. Struggle doesn't block the path. Struggle is the path. Substance is not a mood, a style, or a trait. It's what you earn when you stay true to yourself, when it would have been easier not to. It's what gets built inside you when no one sees your effort, when the applause fades and only your discipline remains. That's why some people walk into a room and command respect without saying a word, not because of what they wear, but because of what they've borne. So if you're struggling now, know this: you're not failing, you're forming. You're not falling apart, you're falling into place, slowly, quietly, powerfully. Struggle doesn't subtract from your life. It adds weight to it. The kind of weight that gives your story meaning, your presence depth, and your voice strength. 6. Pain polishes the soul. There are parts of you that only pain can reach, corners of your character that remain hidden in comfort, untouched by praise, unseen by ease. But suffering, it scrapes, it sculpts. It doesn't just shape who you are, it reveals what you've ignored. And in the Stoic view, that's not cruelty, that's craftsmanship. A diamond is just a stone until it's cut. A blade is just metal until it's forged. And a human being is just potential until life presses them, breaks them, refines them. Pain is the chisel. It removes the unnecessary, the false, the shallow. It peels off the masks we wear when everything is going well and shows us what we really believe, what we truly value, and who we actually are when there's nowhere left to hide. But here's what most people miss. Pain doesn't automatically make you better. That's a lie we like to believe to feel safe. The truth is, pain just exposes. And it's up to you whether that exposure turns into evolution or just more suffering. That's where philosophy steps in. That's where practice matters more than platitudes. Because without a disciplined mind, pain becomes trauma. But with a trained perspective, pain becomes transformation. The Stoics knew this intimately. They didn't run from pain. They leaned into it. They studied it. They welcomed it, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they trusted what it could build in them. Epictetus, once a crippled slave, became one of the greatest minds in philosophy, not despite his suffering, but through it. He didn't pray for an easier life. He trained for a stronger soul. You don't have to go looking for pain. Life will bring enough on its own. But when it does arrive, you do have a choice. You can curse it, numb it, broadcast it, or you can use it. You can ask yourself, what is this pain sanding down? What is it polishing in me that comfort never would? What illusion is it destroying? And what truth is it forcing me to finally face? Because every pain, heartbreak, loss, betrayal, failure is also an invitation to build something deeper in you: humility, patience, strength, sincerity. These aren't traits we get from reading quotes. They're forged in the slow burn of experience. They're earned through long nights and quiet battles no one sees. And here's the paradox. The more refined your soul becomes through pain, the less you need from the world. You stop seeking shallow approval. You stop fearing discomfort. You stop overreacting to small problems. You develop a kind of groundedness that can't be taught, only felt. Not loud, not dramatic, but deep, quiet, enduring. So the next time pain visits you, don't ask why it came. Ask what it came to clean, to clear, to sharpen, to teach, and then let it do its work, not by resisting it, but by walking with it, like a craftsman walks with his tools, knowing that the masterpiece is shaped not in the easy strokes, but in the deliberate cuts. Pain doesn't make you less, it makes you real, and real is rare. 7. The fire makes you unbreakable. There's a kind of strength that can't be faked. It's not loud, it's not boastful, it doesn't wear medals or demand attention. It's the kind of strength you only earn after walking through fire and choosing to stand tall when everything inside you begged to kneel. This strength doesn't come from comfort. It comes from being tested, from being burned, and not backing down. The Stoics didn't aim for an easy life. They aimed for an endurable one. They understood that fire doesn't just destroy, it refines. It removes the parts of you that were never solid to begin with, the ego, the illusion, the dependence, and what's left behind after the flame, something unshakable, something real, something forged. Imagine a blade that's never seen heat. It may look sharp, but it breaks easily. Now think of steel that's been through the forge, bent, hammered, and cooled, again and again. That's the difference between a person who's avoided all discomfort and one who's leaned into it. The second one might have scars, but they've also got substance, and they don't bend at the first sign of pressure. When you walk through life avoiding fire, avoiding confrontation, hard truths, rejection, disappointment, you build a fragile existence. You may feel safe, but you're not strong. And strength, true strength, is what life demands from you if you want to be free. Because the world is unpredictable, people are imperfect, and suffering sooner or later is coming. The question is, will you be ready, or will you collapse? Seneca once said, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests the brave." That's the ancient truth. Adversity is not your punishment. It's your opportunity to get tougher, to get wiser, to become less reactive, more grounded. Because once you've been through the worst, truly been scorched, the little things don't shake you anymore. The criticism, the delays, the minor failures. You've seen worse, you've felt worse, and you survived. But the Stoic doesn't just want to survive, he wants to be tempered, hardened by the lessons, not hollowed by the pain. He uses the fire. He studies it, learns from it, and when it comes again, and it will, he welcomes it. Not because he enjoys suffering, but because he knows it brings him closer to the kind of human being he's trying to become. So when life heats up, when the pressure rises and the path gets hard, don't see it as the end. See it as the forge, the place where your future self is being shaped, not through comfort, but through challenge. Not through ease, but through effort. And here's the most important part. Once you've been through the fire, you don't fear it anymore. It becomes part of you, a memory etched not in trauma, but in transformation. And that's when you know you're no longer breakable. Not because life got easier, but because you got forged in the fire, and you walked out stronger. 8. Don't waste your wounds. We all carry wounds, some visible, most invisible, scars left by words that cut too deep, by betrayals we never saw coming, by losses we still don't know how to name. And yet, the greatest tragedy is not that we get wounded. It's that we often waste those wounds. We cover them too quickly. We rush to move on. We avoid the silence that would have helped us grow. But the Stoic knows better. Every wound holds wisdom, if you're willing to listen. Most people either hide their pain or wear it like a costume. But both approaches miss the point. The purpose of a wound is not to define you or to decorate your story. Its purpose is to deepen you, to create an inner space where compassion, patience, and strength are born. And that only happens if you face it with honesty, not self-pity, not denial, but with presence. A wound is a teacher. It shows you where you placed your identity, where you became attached to outcomes, people, or illusions. When something breaks inside you, it often reveals the part of your life that was built on shaky foundations. And while it hurts to see the cracks, It's also a gift, because now you can rebuild it on something stronger. Truth, character, purpose. But here's the thing. Healing is not passive. You don't just get over pain. You work through it. You ask questions. You reflect. You write. You sit with the discomfort. You let the wound breathe instead of bandaging it with distraction. That's the hard way, but it's also the real way. And the Stoics knew, only through this deliberate engagement with pain does strength emerge. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That includes your past, your regrets, your wounds. You may not have chosen what happened, but you do choose what happens next. You choose whether that pain becomes a prison or a path." Some people use their wounds as weapons, others use them as wisdom. The difference lies in perspective. If you believe the world owes you because you've suffered, you stay stuck in bitterness. But if you believe every experience, even the painful ones, can be used to build a deeper, clearer, wiser version of you, then nothing is wasted, not even the hardest parts. In fact, those hard parts often become the most valuable. The time you were broken becomes the reason you're now whole. The moment you were left becomes the moment you learned to stand on your own. The words that cut you down become the voice that lifts someone else. When you use your wounds, you don't just heal, you help. And that's where the true reward lies. So don't waste your wounds. Don't bury them. Don't parade them. Study them. Learn from them. Turn them into tools. Let them remind you what matters. Let them strip away what doesn't. And above all, let them guide you to the version of yourself that only pain could reveal. Your wounds are not your weakness. They are your wake-up call. 9. Every trial holds a teaching. Life doesn't hand out lessons in neatly packaged books or friendly advice. Often it delivers them wrapped in difficulty, disguised as failure, rejection, loss, or confusion. These are the trials we instinctively try to avoid. But the Stoic doesn't dodge trials. He studies them, because beneath every hardship, there's a hidden teacher. And if you're willing to look, that teacher has something to offer you that no classroom ever could. Think about it. How many of your deepest insights, your most powerful realizations, came when everything was going well? Probably very few. It's during the struggle, the confusion, the silence after the storm, that life whispers truths we usually miss in the noise. A failed relationship teaches boundaries. A financial setback reveals blind spots. A moment of loss teaches presence. The problem is never the pain, it's the refusal to learn from it. Trials are like mirrors. They show us where we're strong, where we're weak, and where we've been pretending. But unlike regular mirrors, they don't reflect appearance, they reflect essence. They reveal the gap between what we say we value and how we actually live. And if you're brave enough to look closely, that kind of feedback is priceless. The Stoics believed that adversity isn't just part of life, it is life. Epictetus, who lived much of his life as a slave, taught his students not to wish for fewer problems, but for greater resilience. Why? Because he knew that trials aren't interruptions, they're invitations, opportunities to embody the very virtues we claim to believe in: patience, courage, wisdom, humility. But not all trials automatically lead to growth. That's the catch. Growth only comes when you engage, when you reflect, when you pause and ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? What flaw in my thinking is this exposing? What skill is this asking me to develop? Most people skip this. They go straight from pain to distraction, from discomfort to escape. But that shortcut costs them the lesson, And that's a price the Stoic refuses to pay. Instead, he slows down, he observes, he writes, he uses the pain as a compass, not a curse. And slowly he starts to notice patterns, how certain reactions sabotage him, how certain mindsets trap him, how certain behaviors keep repeating until he changes. And once you see the lesson clearly, the pain begins to lose its grip. It no longer owns you because you've turned it into understanding. It's like alchemy of the soul. You take something heavy, unwanted, even ugly, and you turn it into something useful. That's the Stoic path. You don't wish for trials, but when they come, you welcome them as part of the curriculum of becoming. And the best part, once you start seeing life this way, nothing is wasted. No pain, no delay, no setback. Every moment becomes fuel for growth if you choose to extract the lesson. So the next time life tests you, stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Because that shift, that single shift in thinking, is what turns pain into purpose, chaos into clarity, and trials into transformation. The Stoic doesn't just endure, he evolves, one lesson at a time. 10. Fortitude is born in fire. Courage is easy when the path is smooth. Patience is easy when life is kind. Faith is easy when everything works out. But fortitude, the inner toughness that carries you through life's fiercest storms, that's something different. That's not born in comfort. It's born in fire. Not the fire of anger, but the fire of experience, of suffering that didn't break you, of moments that left you standing in ashes, choosing to rise anyway. The Stoics didn't idolize strength as something you either had or didn't. They saw it as something you forge, just like steel. You put it through fire, shape it, strike it, and refine it until it becomes unshakable. Fortitude isn't a gift. It's a product of effort, repetition, and conscious endurance. It's what happens when you face pain without turning bitter, when you meet chaos without losing your values. In today's world, many seek comfort as the ultimate goal. Softness is sold as self-care. Safety is prioritized over strength. But a life built on avoiding pain becomes a life too fragile to handle it, and pain will come. That's the deal. The only question is, will you be someone who falls apart under pressure, or someone who's been through enough fire to handle it with calm? Fortitude isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about staying grounded while feeling them. It's the quiet decision not to give up, not to lash out, not to escape into blame or despair. It's when you've lost something or someone and you still show up for your responsibilities, when life knocks you down and you crawl forward anyway. There's power in that kind of resilience, a silent power. It doesn't beg for applause. It doesn't need validation because it knows its worth. Fortitude doesn't fear failure. It learns from it. It doesn't demand ease. It thrives in challenge. That's why the Stoic trains for adversity, not because he's pessimistic, but because he knows storms will come. And when they do, it's too late to build strength. It has to be already there. So how do you build it? You put yourself in the fire intentionally. You do hard things daily. You stay consistent when it's boring. You practice integrity when no one's watching. You train your body, your mind, your habits. Not for show, but for survival. And as the heat rises, you don't flinch. You use it. You let it sculpt your mind, shape your principles, polish your soul. This is not just philosophy, it's preparation for life, for leadership, for loss. Because one day, everything easy will fall away, and what will be left is you. What you built in private, what you chose in difficulty, what you earned in the fire. That's fortitude, not loud, not flashy, but permanent. And when the next trial comes, as it always does, you won't need to search for strength. You'll already be it. Adversity is not the enemy. It's not a punishment. It's not a sign that you've done something wrong. It's the pressure that forges shape, the darkness that awakens sight, the resistance that strengthens resolve. And while most people spend their lives running from hardship, the Stoic walks straight into it. Not because he enjoys pain, but because he understands what it creates. You can live your whole life hoping things get easier, hoping the storms pass, or you can shift the focus inward and build the kind of person who doesn't fear the storm, the kind who stands firm while others collapse, who learns while others complain, who grows while others numb themselves. That's your choice, not the circumstances, but the response. And maybe that's the real lesson, that strength is not given, it's chosen, and chosen again. In every moment you feel like giving up, but don't. In every setback you refuse to let define you. In every ounce of pain you convert into purpose. Because at the end of the day, life doesn't reward the most comfortable, it rewards the most resilient. So if you're going through something right now, something heavy, something unfair, something that makes you want to shut down, remember this: you're not alone, but more importantly, you're not powerless. The challenge is real, but so is your capacity to overcome it. Let adversity shape you, not shatter you. Let it strip away what you thought you needed, so it can reveal what you really have. The strength was never outside you. It's always been waiting in the fire.